has a countdown clock located to the speaker's right that will indicate how much time is remaining. A bell will sound when you have 30 seconds left. Speakers registered on consent agenda items will be taken following the announcement of any items being pulled from consent. Speakers registered on non-consent items other than public hearing and zoning cases will be taken following council announcements. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to speak on all of the items within those blocks that they registered to speak on. Before you begin your comments, please state your name. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the Fort Worth City Council meeting. Call us to order.
Tonight's invocation will be provided by Reverend Hazel Thomas from the Texas Health Harris Methodist Hospital. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledges of allegiance.
Creator of all things, you have placed us in this beautifully diverse and historic city of Fort Worth. A delightful array of your creation is on display during the annual stock show and rodeo. We are grateful for the many visitors to our city for this event and enjoy hosting them each year. This evening, we give thanks for the opportunity to join the City Council to celebrate events and voice concerns in this unexpected city where the West begins. We enter this moment seeking you and trusting that in your presence there is real peace. O giver of life and breath, we live because of you. We hope because of you. Forgive us when we are too preoccupied to notice your presence in our lives. As we walk through this world, help us to see the wonder of you upholding us in all creation. And when we experience life's hardships, may we trust you are redeeming all things, including us. Increase our faith, O God of love, that we may lean on you more and more each day. We ask that you give to those present this evening listening ears, helping hands, and caring hearts, so that all that happens or is spoken will be pleasing in your sight. Amen.
Mayor and Council, our first item will be a special presentation of proclamation for the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport's 50th anniversary.
Thank you, Jeanette. And I'm going to come to the podium. If Ken Buchanan can join me there, that'd be great. You know, I won't put Ken on the spot, but we should ask him if he likes coming to Fort Worth or Dallas more. Just kidding, Ken. I wouldn't do that to you. We are recognizing an unbelievable 50th anniversary since DFW Airport began operations and its numerous contributions that they've made to Fort Worth and the North Texas region, growing and supporting our entire community. And this recognition is being received tonight by one of DFW Airport's finest, Mr. Ken Buchanan, who serves as the Executive Vice President of Revenue Management and Customer Experience, and so much more. I'm going to read this proclamation tonight, and I would love for my council members to join me for a photograph with Mr. Buchanan. Our CEO, Sean Donahue, extends his condolences that he couldn't be here this evening. It's not because this is an important night, it just schedules did not align to allow him to be here. Whereas DFW Airport is celebrating the 50th anniversary of receiving its first commercial flight, marking the airport's opening. And whereas on January 13th, 1974, an American Airlines flight from Little Rock, Arkansas brought the first passengers to DFW Airport. And in its first year of operations, DFW saw over 7 million passengers. And whereas DFW first opened with 4 terminals, 3 runways, 56 gates, and 9 airlines, today, DFW operates with 5 terminals, 7 runways, 171 gates, and 28 passenger airlines to over 250 destinations. And whereas the cities of Fort Worth and Dallas created DFW Airport, envisioning a grand airport that connected North Texas to the world and would become an economic engine, bringing prosperity and incredible contributions to the region. And whereas DFW Airport contributes an estimated $38 billion in direct to indirect payroll, supporting over 634,000 direct and indirect jobs, $24 billion in visitor spending, and about $5 billion in state and local taxes. And whereas over the last half-century, DFW Airport has become a leader in the aviation industry, setting the bar for customer service experience at an airport through innovative approaches that embrace the diversity of its customers and community partners. And now, therefore, the City of Fort Worth does hereby recognize and celebrate January 13th, 2024 as the 50th anniversary of Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Congratulations, Ken. You're going to come down here and say two words of reference.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, and thank you, City Council members, for this recognition. You know, DFW Airport is only as successful because of the investment and continued support of our owner cities. The City of Fort Worth and this City Council have been steadfast in supporting DFW Airport during the past 50 years, helping make DFW the second busiest airport in the world. And not only the second busiest airport in the world, it's one of the top airports in the United States and globally when it comes to customer experience and customer satisfaction. As we continue to celebrate our past, we look forward to our future, and we will continue our mission of transforming travel together. DFW Airport would not be what it is without the support of this council and without the support of the citizens of Fort Worth. So thank you very much for this recognition.
She's good. Yes, thank you so much.
For your sister. I will. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next will be items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda.
We have one item to be withdrawn from the consent agenda. That is M&C 24-0005.
Items to be continued or withdrawn by staff.
4 items to be withdrawn. The first one is M&C 24-007, and that'll be continued to February 13th. M&C 24-0057, M&C 24-0058, and M&C 24-0090 will be withdrawn.
Okay. And City Manager, can I just confirm that that was MNC 24-0017?
Yes.
Great. Mayor and Council, before we take consent speakers, there is one item on consent agenda that I'd like to read in a correction, and that is for MNC 24-0065. The council district should be Hazlet, adjacent to Council District 10, rather than Council District 7. And with that, Mayor, we can take the consent speakers.
And Jeanette, just for clarification of our consent speakers, are there any of those items that we've removed to vote on separately?
No.
Our first speaker is Brian Dunaway, followed by John Winrich.
Mayor, I believe both of them just were wanting to speak.
Brian's here. Okay, you're okay. Thank you, Brian. Is John here by phone?
No, because
Okay. Just, okay. Yep. Adrian Smith by phone.
Adrian Smith. I am one with the people. MMC 240023 24 and 27. Why should this council be entrusted to do the right thing when both present and past behavior says otherwise? Remember, May 19, 2021, June 6, 2022, and I quote, flush with federal funds. Fort Worth spends $146 million in 6 months. The Fort Worth Report, reporter Rachel Bernhardt, May 17, 2022. For those who don't know what funds I speak of, it's the American Rescue Act ARPA funds, $173 million plus, designated by our federal government in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Money that could have served far greater purposes to communities of disinvestment, which to this day are still suffering the most. Now we have $15,400,000 in federal money being designated for the purpose of helping those who continue suffering the most within our city in the said communities that I just referenced. Will this current council, again, repeat past behavior or doing otherwise? Remember, what's said by insanity. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. In closing, MMC 240029. Authorized acceptance of $4 million from Tarrant County previously allocated to its emergency rental assistance program for the purpose of developing 2 affordable housing projects. Mr. Nettles, why should the constituents of District 8 continue to trust your judgment when you recently allowed Fort Worth to counsel a $70 million development contract that was designated for the historic Southside community? And that article, again, came out December 18, 2023, again, by a great reporter from the Fort Worth Report, Miss Rachel. And this decision was made while
Thank you, Adrian.
you all were on.
Our next speaker is John Lyons. Is John here? Hi, John.
Good evening. My name is John Lyons. I'm a school crossing guard here in the city of Fort Worth. I currently am one of the 3 guards that protects the children, the little 5 to 11-year-olds that walk to and from school at Parkview Elementary up in North Fort Worth. I've been doing the crossing guard job now for the last 5 years, but I'll tell you, I'm not your normal crossing guard. I'm a 28-year retired law enforcement officer here in Dallas, Fort Worth. So I don't do it for the money because I've got my full law enforcement pension. I do it because I have a passion to protect children. I look at every one of these little kids that I see every morning and every afternoon, and they're my children. So I know that you have a resolution in front of you to increase the pay for the contract with All City Management Services, and I would ask each and every one of you to vote for that. When I became a crossing guard in 2019, I was making a whopping $9 an hour. I currently make $12 an hour. And I can tell you that we have had hiring events and we cannot fill the vacant positions that we have because nobody wants to stand out in front of cars and try to do this job for $12 an hour. So I hope that All City Management Services will take the money that the city of Fort Worth gives them, and I hope that they will use that money effectively and that they will give the crossing guards of this city a significant pay raise so that we can fill the vacant positions that we have. So we currently have intersections in the city of Fort Worth. There's 14 school districts in your city. My school is a Keller ISD school. My school's lucky, we've got all 3 guards there, but we've got other intersections where we don't have guards because we can't get people to come to work for us for $12 an hour. I think our pay needs to be increased, but that's not my decision. I think that decision is made by all city management services. 2 months after I started, I saved a 7-year-old boy's life in my intersection when a car failed to yield a right-of-way to me. In the 28 years I was a police officer, I could have died 5 times. I have totally lost. I cannot tell you how many times I've almost been hit by a car or I've seen my kids. In the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 children that have almost been run over by cars. So I'm imploring upon the people that drive in the city of Fort Worth, please use caution, especially when you get around the crosswalk. These are little children, and I'm out there trying to protect them, and I need everybody's help in order to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Jeanette, that's the last of our consent speakers.
Next will be approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item will be M&C 24-0005.
A second, council. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next will be announcements by city council members.
Thank you, Jeanette. I'll start with Councilmember Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. You have a presentation. Get it up, please. I joined park staff at the Marine Park new playground site. We ushered in new playground equipment, very much needed by the children around that area, and it's very much appreciated. Thanks to Richard Zavala, our PARD director, Dave Lewis, who was also there in attendance, Director Omontayo Ajayi, who is a superintendent as well, his daughter Grace, Karen Stumer, public education program coordinator. Parks Advisory Board members are also in attendance, Sylvia Kala and Jason Baldwin, as well as Sharon Warner, who is the president of the Far Greater Northside Historical Association. So thanks to all. Next slide, please. All right, December 10th, in partnership with the Presbyterian Night Shelter, the Fort Worth Municipal Court, and the Fort Worth Marshals Association, accepted donations of needed personal items for cold weather season. They also collected, children's toys, and many of these donations went to the Presbyterian Night Shelter and True Worth Place and to needy children. So thanks and appreciation to them. Next slide, please. December 22nd, joined the senior citizens for the Best Years Club for their Christmas celebration at the Northside Community Center. So I brought in some treats and some other food items. Appreciate the staff there, Daniel, Lupa, and all the community center staff. Juanita Vera also. And thanks to Gil Loza for DJing the event. Next slide, please. Okay, December 22nd, Fort Worth Police Department, Northwest Division, they spread Christmas cheer at the North Tri-Ethnic Community Center. So thanks to Commander Kim, Lieutenant Lawrence, Sergeant Bonnie Conjura, who did a lot of the organizing, Sergeant Isaac Martinez, the kids even received an extra toy. So thanks to them. Next slide, please. December 24th, a special thing for me. Emergencies don't take holidays, and oftentimes, neither do our first responders. So one tradition that I've had ever since I've been a council member is to deliver tamales to all our Fort Worth police officers, District 2, and the Fort Worth Fire Department stations, as well as MedStar. So just a little token of our appreciation. Thanks. Next slide. All right, the Stockyards is churning along. We have the historic Armor building that's being totally renovated. It's part of an $8 million renovation project led by Bennett Partners, Whitting Turner, and KRS Realty Advisors. It's going to be the new home for U.S. Energy Development Corporation. They're going to move from Arlington and transfer 60 employees there into the Stockyards. So they're looking to open up next year sometime. It's incredible the rate of remodeling that they're doing. So good wishes to them. Can't wait to see what they got. Next slide. All right, the stock show's in town in case you haven't heard, and in case you haven't gone. Many of the council members, including myself, we were there for the opening day for the rodeo. Had a great time riding down the grand entry along with fellow council members Martinez, Beck, Crane, and Nettles. Next slide, please. All right, related to that, January 13th, enjoyed emceeing the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo 2024 Invitational Mariachi competition with School Board Trustee Anaya Lubanos and Dora Tovar. Appreciation to Brad Barnes for setting them up and accommodating the competition at Will Rogers Auditorium. Next slide, please. January 14th, picks from Best of Mexico, again, Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo, our very own Northside High School Mariachi, played traditional songs for the grand entry. Thanks for Rachel, who's buzzing around here taking pictures for the great photos that she takes. Next slide. Okay, January 19th, took my family. We had a wonderful time there as part of Fiesta Night, sponsored by the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and rode out again at the grand entry with other fellow council members. It's always, a privilege to do that, and appreciation to Annette Soto, for organizing that. She and our council member Martinez rode out side saddle, very impressive. Thanks for doing that. And thanks to all the chamber members. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilwoman Bisbens.
Okay. Hats off to the parents, teachers, and students of Rocket Ship Explorer. That's a new school that Rocket Ship opened in the Woodhaven area. They wanted to start the year off with a better understanding of what it takes to get involved with city government. I told them how to report streetlight outages, potholes, and all kinds of problems, but I got real excited, Wanda and Don, when they asked me, how do you get to serve on a board or a commission? My answer was, I'm glad you asked. I have 2 openings right now. And so that's us at Rocket Ship, and thanks to Joyce Seal Johnson for taking pictures. Next is a very important announcement. For those of you who have relatives, friends, in-laws, outlaws, you never know who may have outstanding warrants. And so I want you to mark February 10th as the date. We're going to practice warrant forgiveness in Fort Worth in District 5. We will be at the Brighter Outlook Annex of Ebenezer Baptist Church, and that's at 1901 Amanda. When you have outstanding warrants, you walk around wondering, who's going to turn me in? You can't get a real good job because you got warrants. You may get arrested. So tell those people you know, tell everyone you know, you don't know who has them, but if you have outstanding warrants, there's a good chance to get them cleared on February 10th at 9 o'clock at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And the guys at the courts told me to let you know it's a wonderful way to kick off your Valentine's Day weekend. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, right before Christmas, we hosted a lunch for the Police Department's Mounted Patrol, which is in District 7. I really enjoyed the time learning what the officers do, and thank you to Chief Noakes and his command staff for attending as well. Over the past few weeks, I've had the pleasure of touring both the Silcox Animal Care Control as well as the North Animal Care and Control facilities to see how their systems work and how City Council can best support their operations moving forward. A special thank you to Brandon Bennett, Chris McAllister, Valerie Washington, and the management and the staff of both of these facilities for not just taking the time to show me around, but to really do a deep dive in answering my questions. These employees have a really thankless job, and I am so appreciative to the care that you do and take with these animals, and especially working with the public to get them adopted. So thank you so much for that. Next, thanks. And finally, I want to thank Eric Fox, Becky Redmond, and Kevin McCormick at Lockheed Martin for welcoming me on site. I got to do a very thorough tour and get to watch the manufacturing line for the F-35. So thank you, guys.
Councilmember Beck. Or maybe, sorry, Chris, I mean to skip you, Councilmember Nettles.
We had an opportunity to do the MLK parade on the east side in spite of the cold weather, so we was there. Nicole Collier, State Rep, rode with us to greet our constituents. Next slide, please. The fraternity, Omegas, went to Walmart on my card and gave out free groceries and paid for people meals during the holiday season. So they gave me an opportunity to participate with that, doing a phenomenal job here in our district. Next slide. Toy Drive giveaway with Cliff Sparks, the YMCA, also the executive YMCA. Is he still here? He was here earlier, AJ, but gave away free toys into our community, VIP for Worth and our District 8. Next slide. Had the opportunity to do the Cowboys of Color Rodeo. First night is on the left, opening night. You see Elizabeth in the back, really waving. Next to is on right is Cowboys of Color with Nicole Collier riding out on Smokey. I believe that's the last slide. Thank you.
Councilmember Beck?
Okay, so first up, we have December 14th, we were invited to Sundance Square to light the menorah for the last night of Hanukkah. I really appreciate that opportunity. And a little fun fact for those of you looking forward to next year, the first night of Hanukkah will actually be on Christmas Day. So for anyone that wants to skip their traditional meal and come eat Chinese food with me, let me know. I'll be ready to do that with you. Next slide, please. Okay, we had the ribbon cutting of the Guarantee Bank and Trust opening downtown, right here in downtown Fort Worth. You can see myself and my district director, Mia, came prepared with our Guarantee Bank green for that photo. Next slide. All right, January 11th, I had the opportunity to tour a business here in District 9. It's kind of tucked away. It is about a $5 million business that located right here in Fort Worth that custom dyes yarn. So if you are in the yarn business, we have got the place for you right here in Fort Worth. Next slide. All right, later that day, we got to do another ribbon cutting, myself and Mayor, at Panthera Biosolutions off of 35. They are really innovating the way that we do R&D and allowing people to come in and rent lab space so that they might not have the resources they need to get up and going, but we provide that space. This now provides that space for them to do that. And they also are looking to train future employees in that industry and partnering with our school districts. So it's a really great partner to bring here to Fort Worth. Next slide. Okay, I don't know if you know this, but January 18th was Mary Kay Day here in Fort Worth. Myself and Councilwoman Martinez got to present that proclamation. And as you can see, we had a lot of fun in their convention center. It was quite pink and lots to see and do. Next slide. Okay, so this is a challenge to my colleagues here and everyone in the room as well. If you don't know, we have an adult basketball league. Mayor Pro Tem Bivens, I see you want to do it with me? Okay, great. I'll look forward to it. So I encourage you, those of you that are interested, please sign up. You can go to our parks website for more information. Next slide. This Thursday, the Everyone Counts point in time count will occur. I believe they are still looking for volunteers, so if you are so inclined to put on warm clothes and head out from 5:30 to midnight on a Thursday, we would sure love to have you. Next slide. Okay, coming up January 27th, our Fort Worth Library is putting on the American Witness exhibit. They will focus on this particular day will focus on Holocaust Remembrance Day. So I hope you can all join us for that as well. Next slide. Okay, if you don't know, our zoo is having a little baby boom. And you can see we have a new lion cub, Moja, and a new giraffe, Corbell. And I encourage you all to go out and check them out before they get too grown too fast, just like our kids do. And if you can see the picture of Moja there, it is really worth the visit to go see that little playful baby. And that's all I got.
Just want to highlight our Meadowbrook Neighborhood Association and Clean McLean Initiative group. Just went out to speak with them earlier this month on different issues and a lot of good stuff that's coming in the works. But it's a great group and very proud to represent them. Next slide. Congratulations to those Fort Worth Police Department officers that promoted this month. Next slide. And so Councilmember Flores touched on it. Congratulations to Annette Landeros and Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce on their 41st annual Fiesta Night at the rodeo. It was a wonderful event, but we, Annette and I, also serve on the Hispanic Advisory Committee for the Cowgirl Museum. So if you go to the next slide, there will be an exhibit opening in March during Women's History Month, Soldaderas de Amazonas, Escaramuzas Charras. So it's going to be really great, and we'll share more information as the dates are finalized. So please follow me on social media, and we'll be sharing more information there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. That's the conclusion of our presentations.
Mayor, next will be speakers on non-consent
Thank
items.
you. Our first speaker is Bob Willoughby. Is Bob here? Okay. You don't mind grabbing Bob outside? Mr. Willoughby, thank you.
I think this is about the 3% pay raise. That's the only thing I signed up for. So quickly, I had a video, and they wouldn't let me. You wouldn't let me play the mayor. I got to focus to you. I can't talk to them. I forgot. In the video, it had Mr. Cook saying he would take questions anytime, and that. And yes, it's true. Mr. Cook will take questions. The only problem is Mr. Cook will not answer the questions. We had a 1-hour meeting. And to today, he's not answered the questions. And what they did, and he's going to get a raise again. You know, he was moved from Sundance Square. I understand we're $50 million over budget on the new city hall. I think that'd be manager. I don't think he deserves another raise. He gets enough money as it is now, okay? Plus, he doesn't answer questions. Now, what they did, they shut down my video because I had John T. White Neighborhood Association is corrupt. That's in the paper. It was in the Fort Worth Weekly out here. I put a half page out here. But they wouldn't let me play it in a video here because videos have more effect than me talking. That's why they shut down my video, and I'm fighting that, okay? Now, you know, we get the city news. Oh, I love this. Michelle Gook, she puts, 3 things the mayor should know. Oh, every time I see that, I think, oh, God, you should know it's important for the mayor. Well, I got 3 things that she doesn't put in there that the mayor should tell you. Yeah, when they ask for this raise here, well, they don't ever tell you how much the person's making, how much they've been making. And I don't think they deserve it because the jobs aren't being done right. And plus, all 3 of these people, they all were brought in from out of town. 2 of them have the highest paid positions in the city of Fort Worth, even the mayor's from out of town. So we don't hire people in the city. And when we do, look at this. City manager gets over, $398,000 a year. What do you do with all that? You can't take it with you, okay? Plus a $600 car allowance. If you can't afford to buy your own car with $398,000 a year, I mean, police officers get 5 times less of that, okay? And they dodge bullets. All he does is dodge my camera, okay? Now look at what 3% is. That's $11,940. I don't hardly make that a year. I'm in poverty, I'm gonna tell you. And then look at Leanne, she gets $271,000, and I've asked her some questions she hadn't answered. I asked why was I banned, give me the stuff you use in court, I got 0 back. So I was banned without a reason, without a hearing. And we'll see about that when we go to court. I have filed charges. Okay, and the secretary, I don't have nothing against the secretary, $183,000. And that's just too much money, okay? So anyway, they're gonna do it no matter what I say. And I used to say anything short of Jesus Christ coming through that door would stop them. I'd almost say even Jesus Christ walking through the door is not gonna stop this race going through. Thank you.
Council, our next speaker is Michael Moore.
And
I think Michael has a group.
Yes.
Pastor Moore, is that correct?
Yes, he does.
If you're part of Pastor Moore's group, just raise your hand. You don't have to stand up if you don't mind. I see one. Anybody else here with Pastor Moore? That's okay. Come on down, Pastor. Good to see you.
Ms. Wanda Horton, do I have to announce that? Ms. Wanda Horton is going to speak.
Hi, Ms. Harden.
Hello. My name is Wanda Harden, and I'm here to speak on behalf of renaming Rosedale Park Plaza Park to Historic Stop 6 Park. And I live in the neighborhood. I've lived there. I've grown there. I've gone to Dunbar High School. I graduated from the old school, which is on Willie Street. My family built homes there. My uncles had several homes there. And we just need to preserve that park because Rosedale has nothing to do with Historic Stop 6. It's just the name of a street. So we need to preserve the legacy, the heritage, and make it a permanent landmark for this. It's a Black developed neighborhood.
Thank you, Ms. Harden. Appreciate you. Pastor Moore, did you want to add anything else? No? Go ahead. Ms. Gina, go ahead.
Pastor Moore, I have a question for you if you'll come to the microphone.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me how the idea of the new name came about and what type of support have you heard or received about changing the name?
I think the real reason for the name change is because Historic Stop 6 has no marker that identifies the community. We just know that it's Stop 6. Nobody knows where the original stop was for the interurban train. So everybody kind of talks about it's here, there, but the opportunity to change the name of the park to Historic Stop 6 will, in essence, give Historic Stop 6 a birth certificate. It gives it a place to put a marker down so that for generations to come, this community will be identified as a community that was founded by Miss Amanda Davis, by Mr. and Mrs. Cowan, and all of the other people who invested in that community, who made a sacrifice for that community, and they struggled to create this community. And so their marker doesn't exist without us making this park, the name change, identifying the community. And I think for the rest of the history of this city, Historic Stop 6 will have a home.
Makes sense. I want you to look to your left, and I want Michael Moore to just wave at you. Michael Morris, wave at Michael Moore. I want you to invite him to your neighborhood association meeting, and he will tell you how we now know for sure how the name and where the Stop 6 interurban was. And Michael, you will have a good time with this, Michael. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Council. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Our next speaker is Jonathan Morrison, followed by Adrian Smith.
Good evening to the mayor and council. My name is Jonathan Morrison. I live in historic Rosedale Park. I actually serve as the president of the neighborhood association right now. And I just want to echo what Pastor Moore said. And I didn't think I would be emotional, but you're right. I've been in a lot of places, and even at times when my life was threatened, and I told people that I was from Stop 6, it made them reconsider whose I was and who they were messing with. And that as we've been working this past 10 years, Historic Rosedale Park is celebrating our 10th anniversary this year, to redefine the identity of Stop 6 as, and to take away a lot of the negative connotations that have been laid upon us because of some of the unintended consequences of mismanagement or decisions that were above our head to not invest in our community. Now that the investment is being made and we are want to be an additional shining light in the city. I think that it brings great value to the investment that's being made by all the partners, that there is a place that is identified as a park, as a green space, as a space. And for the past maybe since 2005, people have been meeting there for something called Stop 6 Day on the 6th day of the 6th month, whether it was on a Saturday or during the week. And a lot of times that gathering is not seen as something positive because of the people and the reason why they're gathering. But I think this is the beginning of even to educate those people and remind those people why Stop 6 even exists and that they can be a part of the betterment of our community. So I came as an individual. We did not vote on this in our neighborhood association meeting. We did discuss it. There was not a lot of negative dissent. I think some people may have been taken aback because they may not have been directly notified in a certain type of way. But I think that it is a true identification of the changing of the guard, that we will no longer be identified as a negative place, but a positive place. So thank you, Pastor Moore.
Thank you, Jonathan. Council, our next speaker is Adrian Smith by phone.
Mr. Smith?
Adrian Smith. Yes, Adrian Smith. This is going to be in reference to MMC 240021, one of the last agenda items to be brought before council tonight. Fort Worth to vote on measures that could impact affordable housing for years to come. And this was a report done by NBC5 DFW reporter Alana Quillen, published 4 hours ago, updated 46 minutes ago. And I want to take a quote from this particular article, if I could. No developer that has applied for tax abatement has opted to do the set-aside since 2015. Sarah Odell, Fort Worth's Neighborhood Development Coordinator. She said there have been 5 developments, each opting to pay the fee instead of setting aside affordable units. Now, hopefully you all, before you make this vote tonight, we will hear from each of you why this vote is important. Yourself included, Mayor, because this council, so basically the developers who've done business within the city of Fort Worth desire profit over people. Now this mayor and council wants to put on a facade that they are somehow the champions of affordability, when again, their behavior, both present and past, says otherwise. So you all have an opportunity to hold developers to a higher standard of accountability. I say no more tax abatements if you are truly about this idea of affordability. In these neighborhood empowerment zones, you know what, basically the areas that have been disinvested from for years, you all got to do better. So hopefully we would hear from each one of you on this dais why this vote is important. And to the developers, you are winning because of the individuals that are in place. But when we get the right people in place, trust me, there will be greater accountability and greater transparency for the decisions that are made as it relates to the city and as it relates to the money that's allocated for various things in the city. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked man rules, the people groan. 30 days, you all. 30 days.
Council, that's the last of our consent speakers for the moment. Non-consent, excuse me. Yes, we're going to recess for just 2 minutes. We've got a little electrical glitch here, looks like.
Before I make the motion.
Yeah, just wait a second. Down. It's like heavier than I thought.
Be glad when we get to the new place. Da, 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 da.
Okay, looks like we're back at it. Councilmember Crane, I believe this is a board appointment 24-04. Yep, that's what.
All right, I'll make a motion and request your consideration to appoint the following individual with a partial term effective January 23rd, 2024, and ending October 1st, 2025. Chelsea Griffith, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. The respective application is attached and resume provided. The original copy will be maintained in the city secretary's office.
A motion, a second. Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item will be Resolution 24-4024.
A motion, Council.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion, a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item will be 24-4025.
Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item will be 24-4028.
Motion, a second. Please vote.
Next item will be 24-4029. Mayor, we have speakers on this item.
Thank you. Our first speaker on this item is Wanda Conlon, followed by Judy Taylor.
Mayor and council members, I'm Wanda Conlon. I live at 1755 Martell Avenue in District 11. I had a bunch of stuff that I was going to tell you how wonderful East Lancaster Avenue used to be, but we don't care about that. Tonight, we're looking at moving forward and seeing what East Lancaster can be in the future. In around 2004, I'm not real good with years, but in 2004, Kirby Hawkins, who was a planner with the T at the time, now Trinity Metro, brought us a plan. He presented it to a room full, a standing room only full of East Fort Worth citizens. He outlined the plan. He called it BRT, Bus Rapid Transit, and explained to us how this could, if the plan came into fruition, that it could create a new East Lancaster Avenue. It showed the bus lines going along the curb and coming to new, wonderful bus stops with lighting and loading platforms so that the people could get on and off the bus in a comfortable way. It had landscaping, the bus stops had landscaping. They were really pretty, attractive, modern, and wonderful. We all accepted the plan, we loved it, and we're ready to go. Unfortunately, there never was any funding for it. So it lay there fallow for all these years. It's not, we've wished for it and it hadn't happened. Well, tonight, thanks to wonderful Michael Morris, we have funding for a plan for East Lancaster Avenue. What I just told you is essentially the same plan you're looking at tonight. The LPA that you're looking at tonight is almost like a mirror of what we looked at before. So my ask for you tonight is to move forward, to vote for this, accept it, and let's get on with shining up this old dusty street. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda. Our next speaker is Judy Taylor, followed by Cindy and Mark Bowling.
I'm Judy Taylor. I live at 2604 Stark Street. I'm very much in support of everything good and happening. I hope that someday I will see another grocery store, another department store, another jewelry store, another shoe store that I have seen in the past. Right now, we'd just love to have positive impact on our East Lancaster. But then you go to 820, no way am I in support of anything that they're planning to expand East Lancaster to 6 lanes in East Fort Worth. There will be a great impact upon our historic district. In the 6400 and 6500 block of East Lancaster, we will leave very treasured possible lands. There's also problems with the downsizing of our Caboose Park. There's an impact on our Rose Hill Cemetery. There's increased speed on East Lancaster, which does not need speed. We already have too many speeders and too many accidents. There's a great impact on our Green Oaks Dottie Lynn entrance, which is historic area for Indian campgrounds and Indian hunting grounds. We just do not need to destroy things that are there and support things that just are not really helpful to us. They talk about a bus going to meet a bus in Arlington. There is no such thing. Bus does not happen in Arlington and will not happen in Arlington. Please be very thoughtful of things you look for as you expand anything positive for East Fort Worth. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Cindy and Mark Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor Parker. My name is Cindy Bowling, and I'm speaking for myself and on behalf of my husband, Mark Bowling, also known as Mr. Cindy Bowling, Gina. He loves that. We live in District 11, one city block north of East Lancaster, as I've told y'all before. We love our neighborhood. We love where we live. Mark and I support the Eastside Transportation Plan. We believe it's a huge step forward for economic development. We initially had concerns about the talk about development east of 820 and expansion to 6 lanes, but after further comprehension of the plan, our concerns are alleviated. We believe what we're being told. I believe Kelly Porter. I believe all of y'all. Yeah, I believe you. And we're going to see really good things with this development. And although it hasn't been, as far as I know, a topic of any discussion, the Bridge Street and Brentwood Stair development, we support that too as part of growing a premier and premium transit route, as you all have said. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Our next speaker is Bill Schwinson. You have to correct me, Bill, followed by James Sims.
Mayor Parker, members of the council, my name is Bill Schwinson. I live at 501 Green River Trail in District 5, and I am a member of the Board of Directors of the East Fort Worth Business Association. During our board meeting on Thursday, January the 11th, the board, in a unanimous vote following a motion by member Gary Cumby and seconded by member Toby Owen, adopted the following position regarding the resolution concerning the Eastside Transportation Plan locally preferred alternative. The officers and directors of the East Fort Worth Business Association wish to go on record with our support of the locally preferred alternative for the redevelopment of East Lancaster Avenue. We have significant concerns regarding the public safety aspect of any plan that utilizes the existing median for any sort of vehicular traffic. Additionally, we understand that the city will be submitting environmental commitments with the LPA to the Texas Department of Transportation, and that those commitments are still under discussion. However, we feel that the concept that is currently presented in the LPA is the best alternative for a world-class redesign that will revitalize and enhance the avenue and hopefully lead to increased economic development opportunities for the East Lancaster corridor. We appreciate the opportunity to present our input to you on this generational opportunity for the avenue and for East Fort Worth, and we would ask you to not hesitate to contact us if we can be of any assistance with the planning process as it moves forward. Now, I believe that a copy of this was emailed to you, but I have individual copies to present to you as well. We thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Bill. And our next, thank you, we'll receive those. Our next speaker is James Sims, followed by Julie Ledford.
Good evening, Mayor Parker and City Council members. My name is James Sims. My wife and I are longtime Eastside Fort Worth residents and have lived at 6935 Craig Street in the old town of Hanley for the past 51 years. I'm here tonight to express my concern regarding the possible impact that the Eastside Transportation Plan may have on the Hanley Historic District located on East Lancaster Avenue, and you've heard of people speaking about that tonight as well. Although I am aware that tonight's resolution in support of this plan specifically addresses the city's concern for the plan's possible effect on this historic district, I fear that the proposed increase in the present 79-foot wide right-of-way in front of those structures, planned expansion to 113-foot width in the same area is illustrated on page 10 of the resolution you're about to vote on tonight, will not be honored as time passes between this resolution and the actual construction. I thus request that going forward, the city stick to its guns and insist that both TxDOT and the North Central Texas of Government honor the resolution in this regard for our historic district as set forth in the resolution you're about to vote upon. Thank you.
Council, our next speaker is out of my, where'd I go? Hold on. Julie Ledford, followed by Paul Crepeau. Julie knew. Sorry about that, Julie. Go ahead.
Good, there it is. I forwarded a copy of the information from Justin Newhart in the Preservation and Design Department about Section 106. Just wanted to mention that. And every rendering that I've seen includes the 6 lanes, and this is current historic Hanley right here. This could potentially negatively impact the old historic Hanley feed building, the Caboose Museum, the art installation that's currently outside the museum, and HHDC and H&A beautification efforts there, which include lamps, bricks, and these were funded by the Hanley Street Festival and other fundraising efforts. There are historic buildings throughout this area, and Historic Hanley Development Corporation and Hanley Neighborhood Association have both been instrumental in helping with our area and the beautification efforts there. And although it was a collaboration with the city, it was funded through Hanley and their fundraising efforts. I just want to look at a couple of the things on my slides. Here's the gazebo right there in Hanley. This is an example of the lamp posts and the banners that are on the lamp posts throughout this area. here's a clock, restored clock, and there's public artwork and local landscapes. And making it 6 lanes would impose on a lot of this area. Here's part of the landscaping. This is right near that intersection where it would be 6 lanes. There's a lot of other examples in our community. Here's our historic street signs that are throughout. Some of our offices and businesses. There's some landmarks right around in Hanley. But this is a strip that we're talking about right here. And as you can see, the lampposts are already right next to the street. And then there's the brickwork. So it seems impossible to have the drawing on page 10 and not impose on this. And as it was mentioned earlier, there's a lot of dangerous traffic accidents that already happen there. And we've had at least 4 or 5 where the cars smashed directly into the businesses and went into the plate glass windows, knocked over planters. Right here, this intersection has had 4 or 5 accidents. And as you can see, this building has petrified wood throughout. So it's a very innovative and different, unique property, and making it 6 lanes would bring it right up to that doorstep. Again, here's some brickwork in the lampposts. I think we saw that one already. There's a close-up of the petrified wood. And again, here's the section that would possibly be negatively impacted. So I just implore you, our city council, thank you for listening to me tonight, but I implore you to really consider the negative impact for future generations. I'm a lifelong resident of Eastside, and I really want to make sure we honor our historic efforts and also the efforts of our neighborhood association and the residents that live in the area to keep us historic and looking our best. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Our next speaker is Paul Crepeau, followed by Julie West.
Paul Crepeau, Fort Worth. Madam Mayor, council members, I appreciate the extra work that staff has done in reviewing the impact on Hanley and some of the changes they're suggesting. I would ask you to give them more time to do a little bit more work towards that. Overwhelmingly, I think the residents and the business owners of Hanley are concerned that 6 lanes through our district will be detrimental forever to our community. I'd also like to point out that while the staff says that graves will not be necessarily moved, they indicate they need 111 feet for right-of-way. By my measurement, there's 107 feet at the widest part, and that tapers down to 87 feet. Again, I think a little more review is in order. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Our next speaker is Julie West, followed by Dan Hayes.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Julie West, and I represent my business, Paper Planet. And on behalf of my peers in the Hanley Wedding District, also known as Historic Hanley, I've been closely following the Eastside Transportation LPA plan since it was brought to my attention in late 2023. I'm here to voice our concerns about the proposed and possible expansion of Lancaster east of 820 to 6 lanes. We have cultivated our unique and thriving destination shopping location on the east side of Fort Worth, drawing customers from all over the Metroplex and beyond. Each of the businesses in the Hanley Wedding District is owned and operated by local, hardworking entrepreneurs. We want growth that reflects historic Hanley's needs and is planned with the area's best interests in mind. Our collective of businesses has spent almost 2 decades investing time and sweat equity into the buildings, neighborhoods, and associations in historic Hanley. We want to see our model nurtured by our city and state. Significant changes to our section of Lancaster would negatively affect our community with unnecessary traffic, noise pollution, loss of safe parking, loss of historic buildings, and lack of access to our economy. We understand that the latest discussion does not include funding or a fully realized plan to expand the east side of 820 to 6 lanes. We are very, very hopeful that this is true and appreciate the thoughtfulness given to any decisions to come. My colleagues and I would like to be included in future discussions regarding our area, as we could provide invaluable feedback regarding the continued growth of the east side into even more of an economic and retail destination. We as a collective want to see some of the following things happen: improved safety for our pedestrian and motor traffic, slower, well-planned traffic with pedestrian crossings and traffic lights, advancement of the urban village concept that has been pitched as the future for Hanley for over a decade, facilitation and consideration for the homeless along our corridor, improved and expanded mass public transit to tie the length of the east side to the downtown corridor, and enrichment for the local business economy through funds and projects. I understand there is much interest in building up the east side through improvements in this area of Fort Worth. We would love for the city of Fort Worth to be an integral partner, investing in the growth of the Hanley Wedding District and historic Hanley. It would prove an excellent venture for the city to have a vested interest in its thriving and historically underserved part of Fort Worth. By investing time and some effort into this part of East Fort Worth, you can show that we are worth building up and make us an example for other underserved, non-traditional areas of Fort Worth. I again would like to invite you and any members of the City Council or representatives across the city to come to our open house on February 29th, where you can individually see all these businesses. I appreciate your future consideration and all of your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. West. Dan Hayes.
Good evening. My name's Dan Hayes, and I live in District 11. In my view, the three main goals of this LPA should be to maximize the economic development potential of the corridor, minimize the potential for pedestrian vehicle encounters, and do no harm in Handley. I don't understand the disconnect between what you're saying, Mayor Parker, and what this LPA shows in Handley. You say you and presumably most of the council don't support 6 lanes, but that's the detail in the LPA. You can't rely on your wishes known, making your wishes known to TxDOT or putting it in the notes. They are a big bureaucracy, and I believe we need to just spell it out, 4 lanes. As for the portion of this roadway inside the loop, we don't need 6 travel lanes there either. Instead of a center running transit and travel lanes reduced to 4, such as my poor printed diagram here shows, we're going to expect the transit to needlessly contend with traffic in the right-hand lane, and we have way more traffic capacity than we have needed since the 1950s when Lancaster was the road to Dallas. And we'll continue to maim or kill a half dozen pedestrians every year as they have statistically for the last decade. Something that looks like the diagram on the screen makes more sense to me. We need economic development to be the priority, not the roadway. In any discussion about what East Lancaster needs, folks undoubtedly mention grocery stores and other goods and services. Nobody ever talks about the roadway condition or complains of traffic congestion. And a center lane based bus rapid transit would distinguish the Lancaster corridor from others in the city and could prove transformative from an economic development perspective as it has in other cities. Transit design right draws developers, new riders, and new residents. It would move Fort Worth a little closer to transit anyone might use, not just those with transportation challenges. Instead, we have a safe plan that will draw no scrutiny from state decision makers and ignores Trinity Metro's center running transit recommendation. So, although I'm thrilled about this, I really hope that there will be a little bit more discussion, maybe a pause, maybe to think about this much like you might with the Museum District, West 7th, the Stockyards, or other prominent areas. Just taking a little more time to dig into the details. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Council, that's the conclusion of our speakers. I'm going to ask Michael Morris and Lauren Prier to give some clarity to what we're voting on this evening. I think it looks like Mr. Morris is going to go first. Michael, thank you for joining us this evening.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Mr. City Manager, for the record, I'm Michael Morris. I'm the Director of Transportation at the North Central Texas Council of Governments. I'm the Staff Director to the Regional Transportation Council. Under a federal rule, the Regional Transportation Council is responsible for transportation matters in the Dallas-Fort Worth region. Your Mayor Pro Tem is the current chair of the Regional Transportation Council. So, Madam Chair, it's nice to see you today. Today you have to mark your today on your calendar. This is a big day. I've stood in this council chamber for several transportation events over the last 4 decades. Today's event today is one of the biggest ones I can think of, and I'll take a second, Madam Mayor, and lay it out. First, thank you, city staff, for taking a leadership position on the locally preferred alternative. I think it'll help expedite needed transportation improvements. There's no need or necessity for a pause. It's time to hit the gas pedal. We have won a lot of federal funds in this part of the region, and I'm going to lay that out to you. Number two, 3 major transportation projects are advancing into design, into the environmental clearance process. Construction does not start tomorrow. We'll be in design for several years, but because we won federal grant money that we are now on the clock, we cannot afford to do this design twice. We only can do it once, or that money gets returned to Washington, D.C., and on my watch, I'm not returning money that we have won competitively and returning it to Washington, D.C. High-speed rail is being planned on the Interstate 30 corridor, connecting downtown Fort Worth, Arlington, Dallas, Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. That high-speed rail is being designed in conjunction with a brand-new freeway facility from Cooper Street in Arlington all the way to downtown Fort Worth. I give credit to TxDOT to let us advance major design considerations through different types of scenarios of both high-speed rail and freeway. Third, we're going to toggle East Lancaster. East Lancaster, probably last amount has $100 million. We've won a competitive grant against our colleagues in states across the country. We plan to have $182 million in place for the construction of East Lancaster west of 820. We have no transportation funds for improvements east of 820. I have no idea why contemplation is occurring with regard to a 6-lane facility on Lancaster east of 820. We're responsible for the mobility plan, and we don't even have any additional lanes slotted for East Lancaster east of 820. I believe Hanley is a great example of a place. I think we can learn from the historic place of Hanley. And the whole purpose of an East Lancaster project is to create place west of 820. Doesn't have to be just like Hanley, but that same spirit of the speakers that you saw today, we need repeated along different locations to create place west of 820. Rosedale was the first transportation project we ever built that wasn't a transportation project. It was an economic development project. It went through Stop 6. We understand Stop 6. This transportation project on East Lancaster, fully funded west of 820, is for the people, the citizens, the economic development, the opportunities, the hope and spirit of those individuals on East Lancaster, similar to that brought to that on Rosedale. What's happened on Rosedale? Juneteenth Museum, other developments now are occurring. There's no way you in this council would take me serious to create a new vision for East Lancaster if we totally didn't rebuild East Lancaster. It just doesn't have the momentum. It doesn't have the public sector investment to create the private sector response. There's a lot of reasons that we need to move forward at this particular point in time, largely because of these funds, Interstate 30, west of Cooper, high-speed rail, and East Lancaster, west of 820. Transit. I've spent 2 years of my life debating transit. You need to focus on transit in the total system of transit that's occurring in Fort Worth. Let me just give you a quick review. Point number 4. We're now out in public meetings to purchase 4 additional transit vehicles for the Tex Rail line because we don't have enough vehicles to extend the rail service into the hospital district. 2, we just finished funding, the Regional Transportation Council did, Trinity Metro did, to fund the 820 station on the Trinity Railway Express. 3rd, the RTC is inventing a new mode of transportation called guaranteed transit. We get people in the central city of Fort Worth that need jobs, in this case in Alliance. We have guaranteed transit on our express lane that goes to Alliance. If we don't get you there in time, we'll pay your transit fare. What a great opportunity to have dedicated transit to Alliance to create job opportunities for all of us in the Fort Worth community. And lastly, we got to get the rail extension fully funded into the hospital district. So the last thing I think we need is to deter Trinity Metro in a center-running transit investment when next generation transit signals and we operate transit vehicles like we will our ambulances to speed cars along the particular curb so our citizens can sit in air conditioning with restrooms, coffee, and lunch, and not necessarily have to sit in the hot median waiting for their transit vehicle. East Lancaster used to be the Bankhead Highway. Bankhead Highway was a highway from White House to California. The roadway no longer today, after today, if you vote for this resolution, will no longer be the roadway to California. It'll be a place in East Fort Worth for the citizens of East Fort Worth to create the vision that they want in this transportation project. Similar to the historical elements of Hanley, you now have the historic elements of East Fort Worth to be able to develop that particular vision on a new clean slate transportation project called East Lancaster. It's about placemaking. It's about people. Yes, it's a transportation project, but the only thing I'm asking of this council is to engage all of your departments, from planning to zoning to housing to homelessness, so we can create a vision and respond to the people's need of a new East Lancaster project that can inspire generations to come. All voices need to be heard. It's not just about transportation, it's about technology, it's about broadband for everyone, the elimination of food deserts, equal access to jobs, equal access to medicine, equal access to education. Today is a big day. Today, we are asking you to move forward on a vision that's bringing probably $5 billion west of 820 to the citizens of the Fort Worth area. Madam Mayor, I'll give time to my colleague and stand ready for any questions any of the members of the council have.
Thank you, Michael. Lauren?
Mayor and Council, I'm Lauren Preer, the Director of Transportation and Public Works, and thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you and the community tonight. Michael, thank you for explaining the vision for the region and the corridor. Tonight, what I want to talk about is the tactical of how we get to that vision and achieving that. So right now, what we're doing tonight is proactively working as a community with TxDOT and the COG on creating the best design street possible. So understand we're very early on in this process, and that is why community engagement matters so much. There is still time and more to be done and discussed on this corridor. As a team, we are focused on creating a walkable, place-oriented, traffic calming, noise mitigating, and safer street. So all cross sections, as noted in the executive summary, are subject to change based on the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and environmental and design phases. So I understand there are concerns about the cross sections proposed. Proposed is the key word. Know that this resolution supersedes the draft executive summary and the conceptual 6-lane cross-section as seen in that draft summary. So I'd like to call everyone's attention to the requested environmental commitment documents, Exhibit B. So like I said, we're now moving into the environmental phase. So this is attached to the resolution for COG and TxDOT's consideration in the design elements. So it's reflective of the public and council's comments and our city initiatives. What we've asked for them to do and consider in their design is to stay within the right-of-way to preserve historic and cultural resources, stay within the right-of-way on the north side within the historic Hanley area, avoid impacts to Native American and other cultural historical sites, including the feed store in the Hanley area, preserve sufficient right-of-way between the railroad and the roadway to accommodate future infill development in the Hanley Historic District, stay in the right-of-way to avoid cemeteries, and maintain on-street parking in the historic district. So the COG will continue to work with the community to gain consensus on the best path forward for us as a community and for traffic moving forward. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Lauren. Any questions? Appreciate you both being here. There's quite a bit of concern, understandably, from constituents, which is why I asked you both to attend. Maybe this question is for you, Lauren. How do we think we got some confusion out there into the community, especially pertaining to this section of East Lancaster?
Well, you know, I think engineers, we can always do a better job of communication. My joke is that I know numbers, not words. My apologies. But, you know, I think when you see conceptual designs, people, you know, these are really good-looking drawings, and they take that as truth. Understand that we haven't entered design yet. We are in the public engagement process right now. We are gathering people's comments to incorporate into the design. And we will be doing that throughout the environmental process.
Thank you. And I think, Mr. Morris, go ahead.
Mayor, the only thing I would add is we're laser focused on 820 and west. Hanley is east. If Hanley wishes to create a nice walkable community with safety and other types of elements that don't necessarily include the additional construction of lanes, we're more than happy to work with Hanley on a vision for that particular community. And I believe, as we get into the details of the design with TxDOT, I think you're going to see attributes of the historic Hanley, not necessarily copied, but integrated in the vision west of 820.
Thank you, Michael. Council, any questions or comments? Councilmember Bivens.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Michael. I have this portion that we're talking about is in the council district that I represent. For those of you who spoke and those of you who didn't speak but you are in this community, I need to check your temperature right now. And so my question to you all is, if you see us vote in support of this document on the agenda tonight, please raise your hands if you think that's voting to put in 6 lanes. Okay. Next question. For those of you who, the same group of people, if we approve this tonight, do you see us at odds with Trinity Metro's plan? Raise your hands if you do. Okay. Lauren, what I need, I'm going to tell you what I think. Not until Judy Taylor mentioned to me 6 lanes, I said, where are you getting this 6 lanes? Because we were focused on making sure that we understood what was going to happen down the middle of Lancaster. And I would not be supporting anything in the middle. Got to be at the curb. And I knew that we would be able to get funding and support from the COG if we did that. 6 lanes threw me completely off. So, Lauren, in what we are voting on tonight, does it endorse 6 lanes?
No, ma'am, it does not endorse 6 lanes. As we have stated all along, that East Lancaster, including the number of lanes, will be determined by COG and TxDOT. However, what this resolution does is it says we are not in support of this in terms of taking the right away from Hanley or really, you know, allowing them to build out to 6 lanes. Again, it's not our call. And I think a lot of the confusion comes from the draft conceptual cross sections. This is something we show people to give them an idea of what we're talking about, gather comments, and then reflect those comments in our submittal to TxDOT.
Now, I will tell you, Mayor, you were on a panel discussion. I think you were in D.C. I forget where you were, but we kept bugging you all last week, and you kept responding. That was good. We've made it very clear that we will not be supporting 6 lanes. Michael has made it very clear he will not be endorsing anything with 6 lanes. So if you could just get 6 lanes out of your mind, and if you could make sure we never see any kind of plan that has 6 lanes, maybe we can gain credibility again. But I hate the moment I looked at that illustration. That's not happening. Now, finally, what I will say to the shop owners of Hanley, for those of you who have your shops here but don't live here, the best way for you to stay plugged in into what's going on is to subscribe to City News. You know, the newspaper, a lot of people don't take the Star Telegram anymore. We don't always make the top of the news for BAP and KRLD, but there is a thing called City News. And if you go to the City of Fort Worth website, you will be up to date on what's happening. That's the best advice I can give. But I can tell you, I will be supporting, tonight's vote, because I know Handley is not going to be changed like we feared it would be. I didn't fear it, but it's just crazy that we got so off course. But what I will ask you is, as engaged as you are this evening, stay engaged throughout the process, because as you've heard, we are at the very beginning of it right now. But don't even say the number 6 unless it's in your phone number, your birthday, or your address, because it's not happening. And well, okay, the 6 is okay. That 6 is okay. But I'm just trying to make sure you know this council is not lying to you. We are not fooling you. We are not playing a shell game. We do not want to see Handley disturbed or the image destroyed. People come to that wedding district from all around the country. We don't want to bother that. We want to enhance that. And so just know that what you see us focusing on now is west of 820.
Yes, ma'am.
And so those are my remarks.
It is important to note, nothing has been designed yet. This project is about 2 years away from a shovel going into the ground. So we have time. We're at the point where community comments are absolutely welcome and needed to shape the design. And
So we don't want no more pictures with 6 lanes.
Loud and clear, 4 lanes.
Okay.
And that has already been reflected in our comments and will continue to be reflected in our comments to TxDOT.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Martinez.
I just want to speak to the portion of Lancaster that's funded west of 820. And just thank you to all the speakers that came out this evening to speak on this resolution. I'm just very excited about this transportation project and the economic development that's for sure to come. And hopefully it will bring us a grocery store on the east side that's very much needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to speak to the fact as far as Trinity Metro goes. I do serve on the Trinity Metro board alongside with Michael Crane. And Trinity Metro is on board with COG and with Michael. And so there's no division. We are all ready to move forward with East Lancaster. So I wanted to make sure that was publicly stated tonight. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Have a future agenda item we were handling. If there are no more questions, again, thank you to Michael and to Lauren and to all of the participation we've had from the community. I think it's very clear that we're not doing 6 lanes. We're focused on this section of 820, on Lancaster, and we will welcome additional input and try to mitigate any more engineers communicating. Lauren, jokes aside, I think you did just fine tonight for an engineer. Thank you. Council, if that's the last of our commentary, I can take a motion and a second. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is 24-4030.
Council, I can entertain a motion here. Thank you. Motion a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is 24-4031.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is 24-4032.
We're missing Jared. Try again, Jared. Motion carries.
Next item is public hearing, MNC 24-0086. Report by Dan Miracle.
Mayor Parker, members of council, good evening. My name is Daniel Miracle. I'm a senior environmental specialist with the Environmental Quality Division in the Environmental Services Department. The purpose of today's public meeting or hearing is to receive comments to establish a municipal setting designation, or MSD 33, for the BIP Brennan property located at 2201 Brennan Avenue, Fort Worth, Texas, 76106 in Council District 2. The proposed property consists of approximately 3.39 acres and is owned by BIP Brennan Property LLC. The property is currently zoned K, heavy industrial. The chemicals of concern identified in groundwater are chlorinated volatile organic compounds, benzene, total petroleum hydrocarbons. The subject property has historically been used for bulk oil storage and non-specific industrial activities, which are believed to have contributed to the groundwater impacts. The groundwater is shallow, perched, and discontinuous, and occurs at depths of approximately 11 to 19 feet below the ground surface. The affected shallow groundwater is underlain by several confining limestone layers that serve as a regional aquitard, preventing the vertical migration of the chemicals of concern to underlying potable aquifers. A public meeting was held on December 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Northside Community Center at 1100 Northwest 18th Street. 2 representatives of the applicant and 3 city staff were present. 2 individuals from the community attended the public meeting. Questions and comments received regarding MSD 33 do not adversely impact staff's recommendation to approve this MSD. In advance of the public meeting and today's hearing, written notice was sent to property owners and municipalities within 1/2 mile of the MSD boundary and to owners and public water supply utilities with groundwater supply wells within 5 miles of the proposed MSD boundary. City staff from multiple departments have reviewed this application. No comments or concerns were made. The Environmental Quality Division is satisfied that this MSD will be protective of human health and the environment, as the ordinance would prohibit the use of the designated groundwater for potable water and irrigation purposes. Following any public comment, staff recommends closing the public hearing, adopting MNC 22 MSD-033 and the attached resolution and ordinance, thereby establishing CFW MSD 0033.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. Council, I'll take a motion. Councilmember Flores, go ahead.
All right. Before I make my motion, just want to say briefly, thank you for your attempted outreach. I know that the attendance was weak, but the neighborhood association in the area did receive notice and information about it. So with that, move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Thank you, Dan. There we go. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 23-1031 with report by City Staff Stuart Campbell.
Hi, Stuart.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Stuart Campbell, and I'm a Development Services Department. This is a continuation of the public hearing that we opened up on December 12th for Terravella. It's an owner-initiated annexation request. It's adjacent to Council District Blaylock, Council District 10. I'm not going to go into, if it's acceptable to the board, I won't go into the staff report that I made at the public hearing when we opened it on the 12th. I would like to just merely add that staff has been working with the applicant, the residents, and the developer in terms of mitigation measures related to the development and how they impact the surrounding communities. I think we're very happy with the progress that's been made. I think you're going to hear from some speakers today that will echo that account. And I think Commissioner Blaylock has some comments to make. So the purpose of the two-step process is, one is we're going to take action, request you to take action on an annexation case first. That would be to close the public hearing if there's no citizen comments and act on the MMC. The second would be consideration of the companion zoning case that would be heard next.
Thank you, Stuart. Any questions for Stuart, council? If not, Councilmember Blaylock.
Mayor, we do have a couple speakers.
So Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead. I think he has a few things.
sure. Stuart, thank you so much for your efforts during this. We have this and the companion zoning case are tied together, so I'm going to ask that Rusty speak now as well as Bobby and the other representative of the community. So it's all at the beginning and not after we've made
Voted
the
on both
first.
of them. That sounds good. So our first speaker will be Bobby Samuel, followed by Daniel Betton, and then Mr. Fuller.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm speaking actually on behalf of myself and Daniel. Daniel's with LJA, our consulting engineer that's helping us out with the project. As Stuart mentioned, since the last public meeting that we had some additional coordination efforts with both staff and Councilmember Blaylock, as well as some communication with North Fort Worth Alliance. And hopefully we've kind of come to a resolution of addressing the concerns that were brought up at the prior meeting, and happy to address any questions this evening. Didn't have anything formally prepared, but I'm here to address any questions. So.
Councilmember Blaylock.
So Bobby, if you'd just take a moment and share your commitments towards the surrounding infrastructure construction, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, no worries. So as part of our recent meeting, we kind of discussed regional connectivity across multiple developments kind of in that North Fort Worth area surrounding Terravella. We control Terravella as well as a deal next door called Madero. Within the Terravella development, one thing we've committed to doing as part of the coordination efforts recently was to actually sort of expedite a collector road that runs east-west within Terravella and pull that timing forward and tie that to actually a specific number of lots that would be developed as part of a green sheet process, as the city of Fort Worth calls it for actually accepting that infrastructure. So that was one of the primary commitments that we made as part of the coordination efforts. It's something that we didn't have to do, but we thought just based on communication and feedback that we were getting from public outreach as well as staff and Councilmember Blaylock, that would be a good thing to just make a commitment to do, just to show our committed progress to all the development we have going on in Fort Worth.
All right, thank you, Bobby. I really appreciate.
Thank you. And it looks like Dan is not speaking correct, so I'll move to Mr. Fuller. Rusty.
See if I get the print big enough to read. Hi, I'm Rusty Fuller, and I'm president of the North Fort Worth Alliance. We came before you a month ago to point out the difficulties with the Terravella development. Tonight, we want to report back. We want to recognize and thank staff, Councilman Blaylock, and the representatives of Green Brick LLC, whom you just heard earlier, for their efforts. In recent meetings, these folks came together to see what remedies they could implement to relieve the congestion that would be contributed by this extensive undertaking. We have confirmed the commitments by developers to finish Sendero Ranch Boulevard to the northern way and thus create a second way out of the community by late 2025. Greenbeck committed to significantly move up the construction date of the connector to John Day, which he just described, and this will allow more flexibility to the people to move around the area. They also agreed to rezone property associated with the gas well property to quarter-acre lots, which will give us a little bit of variety in density. Finally, in a late fix, there will be a signal and a turn lane to facilitate left turns for those having to take their children to the schools in Sendero Ranch, which are all left turns from that development. Such action and such concern for the community is important, and it needs to be recognized as the way to do business in Fort Worth. We are grateful to all the parties to having taken our comments into consideration and come up so quickly, within a month, over the holidays, with a solution. So thank you very much, folks.
Thank you, Rusty. Councilmember Blaylock, that's the last of our speakers on this item.
Thank you, Mayor. So I will just say, my office, along with North Fort Worth Alliance and others, are working very aggressively to get roads built and help with the mobility issues in the north. I really want to extend appreciation to the North Fort Worth Alliance, to Rusty Fuller specifically for his time, expertise, and leadership in the north. I want to thank Green Brick Partners, Bobby, Brad, for their willingness to collaborate with the council office, the city of Fort Worth, in tackling the challenges in this area. And I want to give special thanks to our dedicated staff members that worked hard over the holidays and earlier this month to make this happen. Dana Bergdorf, DJ Harrell, Ty Thompson, Stuart Campbell, LaShondra Stringfellow, Stephen Murray, Shad Roten, Clay Pearson, Eric Fladiger, Lauren Prier, and Kelly Porter. And with that, I move to close the public hearing and act on the MNC.
Second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next will be the companion zoning case, ZC 23127.
Well, I don't think we have speakers on this item since we just handled that.
I think we're safe moving forward with a motion to approve.
Please vote. You're slow down here, Crane. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-150.
We have one speaker on this item, Councilmember Nettles, but only if there's opposition, and to my knowledge, there is none.
Move to approve.
Motion a second, please vote. Councilmember Blaylock, try again, sorry. Motion carries.
Next item is SP-23-013.
No speakers on this item, Councilmember Bivens.
Second.
Motion a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-161.
Councilmember Crane, we have one speaker, only if there's opposition. To my knowledge, there is none.
That's great. I'm going to move to approve with the site plan waived.
Motion a second, please vote. Elizabeth. Do you want to vote on that one? Sorry. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-164.
No speakers on this item. Chris?
Move for approval.
Motion a second, please vote.
Next item is ZC-23-167.
We have a few speakers on this item. Councilmember Martinez.
I do want to,
Go ahead.
Mayor, if I may, make a note before our speakers come forward that I do plan to continue this zoning case to 30 days to February 13th.
Thank you. Our first speaker is Letitia Wilburn. Is Ms. Wilburn here? I haven't seen her. There she is.
Good evening. First, I want to say Happy New Year's to each and every one of you. And I want to say I did try to reach out to Habitat for Humanity, but I did not get a call back. I'm with Echo Heights Stop 6 Environmental Coalition and the Environmental Coalition of Communities that sprang from Echo Heights, and that's the citywide coalition. And we are in favor of the home being built by Habitat for Humanity. I went by the neighborhood. I drove by the street and the address. It looked as though a home was once there. So it looked like it should be zoned for a house and not industrial. Also, I am the unfortunate recipient of having industrial right in my backyard. So when I looked at this location, one of the first things I noticed is that this land is just like a home, piece of lot right next door to a home. So there's no buffer, there's no anything there. So it seems like the lot is not even feasible for industrial to even be at that location. So that was one of my concerns. I also looked at the zoning cases that you all have on this deal, and most of the ones that are similar are actually set for approval, so I'm not sure why this particular one for Habitat for Humanity was set for denial. I know I read that said it's not compatible or whatever, but when you look at it, it's not compatible for industrial. It's actually compatible for a home to be built there. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say, is that Echo High Stop 6 Environmental Coalition is in support of Habitat for Humanity building a home there, and not for industrialization to be right next door and right up on homes. That's not right. And so that's what I had to say. I just want to be short.
Thank you, Ms. Wilburn. Our next speaker is Mallory Hahn. Okay. Michelle Kennedy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is always a pleasure to have an opportunity to speak with you guys. I would like to just make a really quick reference to something that was said earlier. I just wanted to say that I find this council to be very supportive of affordable housing and homeownership in our city across the board. And I appreciate that. I find you to be solution-oriented, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that leadership. We've been working and had a conversation with Councilwoman Martinez just yesterday on this issue. Everything that Ms. Wilburn said is true. It's a corner lot. It's an odd little neighborhood. 4200 Brady is located on 3 streets. It's Brady, it's Nelms, it's Good Shepherd, it's Country Estates. There are 22 houses and 67 mobile homes on this little area. And in terms of the future use plan, it's designated as mixed use. I'm very familiar with the Stop 6 overlay, and I looked at it and thought it was compatible with the Stop 6 overlay because we're going to be putting we're asking for A5 single family zoning. And so we were trying to retain that single family zoning within this area where, I mean, look, I could stand here all night, and y'all know that, and talk about affordable housing. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about affordable home ownership. We all know the city needs it. And this was another opportunity for us to pursue that, but we do our legwork and we try to make sure that there's compatibility when we're doing that, when we're requesting the zoning. And that's all that I have to say. I will be glad to answer any questions. Mallory is our Senior Director of Construction. She'll be glad to contribute anywhere if we have any questions or anything that we need to address.
Thank you, Michelle. Councilor Martinez, any questions?
No, just that I had a conversation with Michelle and would like a little bit more outreach to the immediate neighborhood on their feedback for this potential zoning change. So that's why I'm continuing it for another month.
Yeah, and I'm going to work with her office. We're going to try to schedule. There's 22 houses. 12 of them are renters and 10 of them are homeowners on these 2 streets. And just see if we can get them to come together and let's have a little bit of a conversation so everybody knows what's going on. That's the way we like to do business. And most of you who I've worked with in the past know that that's the way we like to do business. And so look forward to continuing our work with Councilwoman Martinez.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Got a motion to continue in a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-169.
Councilmember Bivens, we have 1 speaker on this item, but only if there's opposition. To my knowledge, there is none.
Such a fantastic company. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-175.
Councilmember Bivens, again, no opposition.
I just want to know if the owner, the applicant is here. Is that you, Mr. Artrock? Yes. We finally get a chance to see face to face. Thank you for what you're going to be doing, and I move for approval of this case.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
You got a unanimous vote.
Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-176.
Councilmember Nettles, we have a few speakers on this item. Not sure how much opposition, but the first one, just to be sure, is Brian Cotter. Anyone to speak or no? Only, okay, very well. Travis Niles, same thing, and Jim Mabeck. So I'll turn to you, Councilmember Nettles.
All right, thank you. Move for approval.
Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-178.
Councilmember Larsdorf, this one's yours. Only if there's opposition. To my knowledge, there is none. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-179.
Few speakers on this item. Councilmember Hill, not sure about opposition or not. The first one is Carolyn Horner, wants to speak only if there's opposition, but the second one is Kirk Presley. Is Kirk here? No? You're good. Okay. Councilmember Hill.
I move to approve.
In a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-180.
Councilmember Blaylock, only if there's opposition. There is none.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-181.
Councilmember Crane, this one's yours. I do not think there's any opposition. Motion a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-183.
Councilmember Martinez, no speakers.
Really excited about this plan development. It's going to build a community in the Meadowbrook neighborhood, and will take place of a property that had burned down many years ago. So just motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-197.
Motion a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0021.
Motion a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0089.
Mayor Pro Tem, this one's yours. Motion a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Just as a reminder, MNC 24-0090 was withdrawn.
Thank you.
Next item is MNC 24-0052.
Councilmember Blaylock.
So forgive me, I have a small novel to read. I move that the Fort Worth City Council adopt the resolution authorizing the use of power of eminent domain to acquire 4.378 acres in right-of-way easement from real property owned by Beaten Path Development. The land rights in the subject property are needed for the Avondale-Haslett Road project, a public use that will reconstruct and widen Avondale-Haslett Road from Willow Creek Drive to the eastern city limits of the city of Haslett at John Day Road. The property will be used for widening and reconstructing the existing two-lane asphalt roadway to a four-lane divided concrete urban arterial. The property is located at 541-1021 Avondale Haslett Road in the MEP and PRR Co. Survey Number 13, Abstract 1129, Tract 1 and 1C, Tarrant County, Texas. The property interest to be acquired is described by meets and bounds and depicted by the survey exhibit attached to this mayor and council communication.
Thank you, Alan. Got a motion, council? Motion, a second, please vote.
Yes.
Jared, try again. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0082.
Councilmember Blaylock.
I move that the Fort Worth City Council adopt the resolution authorizing use of the power of eminent domain to acquire 3.85 acres in the right-of-way easements for real property owned by Hall Nance Ranches LTD, located at 400 to 640 Avondale Haslett Road, 0.437 acres in right-of-way easement from real property owned by Daniel Lewis Nance, located at 540 Avondale Haslett Road, and 3.364 acres in right-of-way easement from real property owned by David E. Nance, located at 900 Avondale Haslett Road. The subject properties are situated in the Bramlett and Ryan Survey, Abstract 227, and MEP and PRR Co. Survey, Abstract 1132, City of Haslett, Tarrant County, Texas. The first record vote applies to all units of the property to be condemned for the Avondale Haslett Road project, a public use that will be reconstructing and widening Avondale Haslett Road from Willow Creek Drive to the eastern city limits of the City of Haslett at John Day Road. The land rights in the properties will be used for widening and reconstructing the existing 2-lane asphalt roadway to a 4-lane divided concrete urban arterial. The property interests to be condemned are described by meets and bounds and depicted by the survey exhibits attached to this mayor and council communication, and the minutes of this Fort Worth City Council meeting reflect the first vote applies to all of those units described herein.
Motion, a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0083.
Councilmember Crane.
Yeah, mine's only about half of what Councilmember Blaylock has had to read, but I move that the Fort Worth City Council adopt the resolution authorizing use of the power of eminent domain to acquire 0.01 acres in permanent sanitary sewer easement from real property owned by Judy Butts. The land rights in the subject property are needed for the sanitary sewer rehabilitation contract 107 project, a public use that will repair damaged sewer lines, allow better flow within the sewer pipes, and help prevent sewer backups on L 3100. The property is located at 7309 Davenport Avenue in the Ridgely West Addition, Block 12, Lot 9, City of Fort Worth, Tarrant County. The property interest to be acquired is described by meets and bounds and depicted by survey exhibits attached to this mayor and council communication.
Motion, a second, council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0084.
Councilmember Hill.
I move that the Fort Worth City Council adopt the resolution authorizing use of the power of eminent domain to acquire 0.17 acres in the right-of-way easements from real property owned by the Duggan Family Trust. The subject property is located at 8001 Heron Drive in the D.E. Norton Survey, Abstract 1174, Tarrant County, Texas. The land rights in the subject property are needed for the Las Vegas Trail Project, a public use that provides for roadway improvements, including pavement reconstruction with curb and gutter, drainage improvements, street lights, and shared use paths. It also includes increasing the capacity of the culvert between Heron Drive and Shoreview Drive. The property interest to be acquired is described by meets and bounds and depicted by survey exhibits attached to this mayor and council communication.
Second. Motion, a second, please vote. Jared. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0085.
Councilmember Hill.
I move that the Fort Worth City Council adopt the resolution authorizing use of the power of eminent domain to acquire 0.135 acres in the right-of-way easements from real property owned by Cheyenne Ridge, Limited Partnership, a Texas Limited Partnership. The subject property is located at 6399 and 6398 Apache Trail in the Cheyenne Ridge Addition, in addition to the City of Fort Worth, Block I and J, Lot 1X, Tarrant County, Texas. The land rights in the subject property are needed for the W.J. Boaz Road Widening Improvements Project, a public use that provides for roadway improvements, including pavement reconstruction with curb and gutter, drainage improvements, street lights, shared use paths, and reconstruction of the existing roundabout at Bowman Roberts Road. The property interest to be acquired is described by the meets and bounds and depicted by the survey exhibits attached as mayor and council communication.
Motion a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0081.
Motion a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0088.
Councilmember Bivens. Motion a second, please vote, council. Motion carries.
Mayor, I believe that concludes all of the action items for tonight.
Thank you. Council, tonight we are closing the meeting in honor of Mr. Burl Hampton Jr., who passed away on January 11th, 2024, after a brief hospital stay at the age of 76. Mr. Burl Hampton Jr. was born on December 31st, 1947 in Buckner, Arkansas, and later migrated to Fort Worth, becoming a resident for many decades. For over 20 years, Mr. Burl Hampton Jr. worked for General Motors and was a long-serving member at Mount Nebo Missionary Baptist Church in District 2. Mr. Burl Hampton Jr. was an exemplary community leader and friend. He served his community as president of the Far Greater Northside Historical Neighborhood Association for over 15 years. Mr. Hampton was a very patient and friendly person. He always made the time to share his wisdom and life stories. He would always greet you with a warm smile on his face. His kind and giving nature touched many in the community. We send our deepest condolences and thoughts to the surviving family, his daughter, Rashana, and 2 sons, Pete and Renard, during this difficult time. Thank you, council, and meeting is adjourned.